Good morning, Blackhawks fans, and welcome to VTech Talks Blackhawks Hockey. Today we'll be discussing Cam Ward and Corey Crawford's stats on the year, and we're going to put a final settlement, really, because I'll get into a story here on why I think that Corey Crawford is a better goaltender than Cam Ward. You may argue against me on that one, but if you do, let me know in the comments below. Also, tweet at me. But anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about their stats throughout the year, kind of look at their career as well. But the big thing, I'm not going to talk about Colin Delia in this, just because this is the first real look we have at him. He's just now getting comfortable in the league. He got thrown into a crappy spot in all reality, but I don't think the team really did him justice coming in. I mean, I understand that last year was kind of his rookie year. I mean, he played a little bit, but really this was kind of his time to kind of shine a little bit in the NHL. But yet again, the team didn't do him quite justice. But I just really want to discuss more of what happened this year. When I was going through it, I was looking at Cam Ward's stats versus Corey Crawford. And now, their first games that they actually played were the same year in 05 and 06. Crawford did not play as many games as Ward did because, he was playing behind Nemi and, Emery? I believe their names were. So he didn't really get a lot of opportunities to shine until the late season in 2013, right before they won the Cup. There was some things going on with Emery, and he stepped in and he won the Cup. So technically, if we're looking at that aspect of it, both goalies, when they first started, they were the main guy in the Stanley Cup playoffs for their respective team. They ended up winning a cup. Now, Cam Ward only one cup. His rookie season, he won in Carolina. He played 28 games prior to that. I'm not quite sure who was the goalie at the time, but he only played 2 playoff series versus Crawford's 8 playoff series, right? Now, you could say that, well, Carolina missed the playoffs all the way up to, I think it was 2000, somewhere past the 2010 era, okay, in the new decade, in the decade we're in right now. He didn't, he only had 2 playoff series leading up to that. And Crawford really wasn't the ace in the hole until 2013, but he has played in prior ones prior to that. Not as many games. I think the 2010, 2011 is when he played a lot right after they won the Cup. I think he played multiple games in that aspect of it. But he didn't really play. I mean, he was just that guy that if something were to went wrong, he would play that next game if they would have lost. It really doesn't look, bad on his portion of it. Now, the big thing that Cam Ward has over Corey Crawford is obviously games played. His wins are more than Crawford is just because he's played more games. But he also has a Conn Smythe trophy. But that's the only reason Carolina probably won in 2006 was because of Cam Ward. He came in as a rookie. He was looked upon to being the next big thing in Carolina, and he was. He has all the records that they have down there in Carolina. He has all the goaltending records that you can think of. He has it. Now, if they had a better team around him, you could argue that he's better, right? That there are 2 different spectrums here. Okay, let me lead into the story what I was talking about. So, I can't remember the day, but it was in March. They were coming off of a back-to-back game against Colorado. I believe I think it was the 28th or the 24th game. Anyways, my girlfriend got me VIP tickets. We went to the Hawks practice facility, and we got to tour the practice ice. We got to go in their actual locker rooms, and all this other stuff, right? Well, they have a big wall with all the awards on it. Whoever won an award as a Blackhawk is up on this wall. And I'm sitting, I'm in awe. I'm looking at all this, and there's a guy next to me, and he says, Corey Crawford won this award for the best save percentage, or I'm not quite sure. Awards kind of go by the wayside with me just because they have so many different names. It's just not named. This one is for this. This is this. Like NFL is, league MVP is, the MVP, the best offensive player, defense. You get what I'm saying. So it kind of loses. I kind of lose that sense there. And I think it was in the 16th season when he won, 15 or 16th season. I'm not quite sure. I forget. I think he said it was the 15th season because I said that was a great year. And he looked at me, and he kind of looked at me like he can't believe that Corey Crawford won that award. And I looked back at him. I said, he was the best goaltender at that. He played really well that year, and there's a reason why they won the cup that year. And he goes, well, I just don't trust Corey Crawford. I said, well, why don't you trust him? What gives you the reason why you don't trust him? And this was, he comes back and he plays one game back, he wins, then he gets blown out, and that's just he was 2 games back from his two and a half month long concussion. Okay, I don't expect anyone to come back from a concussion to play hands down the best, but then he goes to Montreal and puts out a 48 save shutout. Was it 48 or 38? My numbers are 42. My numbers little sketchy on that one. But his career high, save shutout ever, right? And he's sitting there saying that, well, if we make the playoffs, I don't trust him. I would rather trust, Cam Ward or Colin Delia. And I'm like, well, what? I was going through this whole speculation talking about this because I was talking about save percentage. I was, saying, well, he has the best goal against average, best save percentage, this and that. Yes, he's missed games. Well, that's just one of those things that happen. And it finally comes out, he goes, because he's had a concussion. I said, okay, I understand your point. But the thing here is that Corey Crawford's your number 1. You bring Cam Ward in for your number 2. If you were going to bring Cam Ward in for your number 1, Corey Crawford would have been somewhere else. Okay, it's simple as that. But why would you give up a goalie who puts up good numbers? Now, I'm not saying he puts up the best numbers that you've ever seen. He doesn't put up those god-tier numbers, like you see with the Hendrik Lundqvist, the Jonathan Quicks. Who else you got? Well, you got Pecorine. He doesn't put those numbers up, but he's there. I think he gets overlooked in some aspects of it because you got to look at the team he was on. You put you got Kane and Taves, and you're winning all these cups, you're winning all these playoff series, you're doing this and that, and the goalie kind of goes on the wayside a little bit, right? Because he's outshined by his offensive players and defensive players. I'm not knocking Cam Ward at all, but what I want to lead. This is the big thing that I want to discuss. Okay, so let me. So Cam Ward has played 253 games more than Corey Crawford has, right? And Cam Ward has been playing since he was a rookie in the NHL with Carolina, right? And now you could say, well, Cam Ward won more games this year, right? By 2 wins. He won 2 more games by 2 wins because they were on that win streak. And guess what? Colin Delia was doing the same thing at that time. Crawford was out. I guarantee you Crawford would have been in for all of 8 of those games. And a couple of those games, I don't blame Crawford for losing because when it came down to crunch time, the offense wasn't there. And there's only so much Corey Crawford could do. All right? But what I want to look at, so in those 253 games more, right? Cam Ward has 27 shutouts. Corey Crawford has 25. Okay? Now, I understand to get a shutout, you have to do so much more, right? It's just not so much on the goaltender, it's on the defense as well. So you could say, well, at the time that Corey Crawford's been in the net, he had a defense around him. You're right, he did. He had Hjalmarsson, he had Keefe, he had Seabrook, he had Oduya, he had all those good defensemen around him. But even this year, with Crawford being out for 2.5 months, right? Guess how many shutouts he posted up this year? Now, it may not seem like a lot, but compared to Cam Ward and Colin Delia, he has 2 more than everyone else does, and they put up a whopping donut. They put up 0, nothing, zilch, zada, nothing, right? So you're telling me with how the year that the Hawks have went, you're going to sit there and you're going to tell me that this year, Cam Ward, you would trust Cam Ward in the playoffs over Corey Crawford. Okay? Let's get into the season. I'm going to get into the season stats real quick. Corey Crawford played 39 games. He had 14 wins, 18 losses, and 5 overtime losses. Okay? So that's 6 more games than Cam Ward did, right? And Cam Ward ended up pulling 2 more wins out, but that was when they were when they were on that winning streak. He also got credited with the game in was it Dallas, where Corey Crawford was starting and he went out with a lower body injury, and he was pitching a shutout at that time. Oh, I also want to say he was pitching a shutout when he got concussed in San Jose before he went out. I'm just letting you know he was pitching a shutout in that game too. And he gets injured, and Cam Ward brings that shutout almost all the way to the end, and he gets there's a goal that gets scored on him, right? Who gets to win? Cam Ward does. All right, so you could say, well, and vice versa, but you can't say that because Corey Crawford was winning the game at the time, and he came in and they absolutely went to shit in the San Jose game. But what I'm saying is that's one win that, Corey Crawford didn't get that Cam Ward did. So it would almost even itself out. This is what I'm just saying. That's what I'm discussing. Okay? And also, there was 2 or 3, for sure 2 games Crawford went out with, 2 games. No, actually, it was 3 games. I would say it was 3 games because he went out with an illness in one of the games. And I think that was another goal that scored. So Ward would have gotten that win, or was it? No, it was Colin Duty that came in and got that win. So there's two wins that Crawford got robbed of just because. I mean, he was injured, he was sick, or whatever the case. But there's been 3 games this year where he's gone out either due to injury or illness. Okay, it's not that big of a deal, but so theoretically, he played 39 games. He got booted out of 3 of those, not because he sucked, not because he got pulled, because he ended up having an injury or an illness. So it would have knocked him down to 36 games, right? Just with that, he didn't finish those 36 games, right? And Cam Ward played 33. So in all reality, if you look at it, the numbers are almost identical, right? But so in the shots against, right? Corey Crawford faced 1,176 shots. Cam Ward faced 1,113 shots. Corey Crawford only let 108 goals in, and Cam Ward let 115 goals in. So he played 39 games, Corey Crawford did, only let up 108. Cam Ward played, he gives up 115. I'm just throwing facts out here. I'm just throwing you statistics. I like Cam Ward, and I'll get and explain why my feelings towards him have changed, but I'm just throwing you facts. If you're mad with facts and you don't like it, then I guess this isn't the podcast for you, because I'm just throwing facts out here, okay? But then when you look at the goals against, right? Goals against. Corey Crawford, 2.93 goals against average. Cam Ward, 3.67 goals against. Okay? So, throughout the beginning of the year and towards the end of the season, when Corey Crawford was out for that 2.5 months, right? And they're putting up numbers like that. And by the way, I want to explain something. I'm not saying the defense wasn't horrible at the beginning of the year, because it absolutely was, and mid through the season, even when they were winning those 8 games, the defense was horrible. But you know what kept them in games, right? It was the offense, all right? Not saying that the goalies didn't play well, because they did. I'm not knocking any of the goalies, but I'm just saying is that prior to that 8-game winning streak, right? Corey Crawford's playing against San Jose. They're up 3-0. He goes out with concussion because he gets ran into. Cam Ward comes in there, and you could say, well, the defense was playing like crap. Everyone played like crap, but they ended up losing like 6-3. Cam Ward comes in and says, hey, Crawford's out. I'm your guy. You got to treat me like I'm your guy, right? and they go on this 8-game winning streak, but then Jeremy Collinson's shuffling between Cam Ward and Colin Dillon, and they're both going out there winning because, to be honest, they could let up 3-4 goals a night when the offense is scoring 5 or 6 goals a night. So there's not that pressure on the offense or on the defense because they can let all those goals in because, like, well, our offense is going to take care of it. But then Corey Crawford comes back in, right? And everything shifts, right? There's better defense. The offense isn't playing so hot. So I don't know if it's because they can rely that they know the guy behind them can stop the puck. You have to watch the game. You have to understand what's going on. And I don't say that Cam Ward is a bad goaltender. I think he's a good goaltender. I think he's a great goaltender. But when you look off the numbers and you look where they've came from, you could say, well, if, Corey Crawford would have played all of his years, would his numbers be as good or better than Cam Ward's? We will never know that. If Cam Ward was on a team like, Pittsburgh or a team that, Washington, all them, would his numbers be a lot better? Probably. But it all depends on the team you're at, and I get it. Carolina was not the best. I understand in the playoffs right now, and they're making things of it. But that's a year after Cam Ward leaves. Okay? Mrazek's playing great down there. So it either tells me that they totally changed everything. I don't know enough about Carolina to say, hey, they changed a lot of things up. They missed the playoffs to get rid of Cam Ward. Next thing you know, they're in the playoffs. So that's a discussion on its own as well. But when you look at the Hawks' success, if you look at the past 2 years, Crawford's been hurt majority of the year, and they don't make it to the playoffs. He's healthy. They make it to the playoffs. End of statement. I'm just saying. I'm talking facts. I'm looking at the facts. You can look up the facts on your own on NHL.com, and you can look through their facts. I may have a couple of things here and there wrong that I've written down wrong or read over wrong, but the facts are there. They don't lie. I'm only defending Corey Crawford because I'm sick and tired of Blackhawks fans saying he sucks. He won you 2 Stanley Cups. Okay? He's catching a lot of games that you would have never won, and if you base it off of the Nashville games when they got swept, look at Pecorine. All right, look at those numbers. Right, those numbers show that the offense wasn't there. I remember sitting on the edge of my seat going, "Holy crap! How is the game 1-0 and we're losing?" Okay, so if we lose a game 1-0, 2-0, that's not on the goaltender. You're not expecting a goaltender to pitch a shutout for 3 overtimes or whatever the case may be. They're gonna let one in. It just shows you who has the heart and who doesn't. Okay, so in that aspect of it, I think if I was gonna take a team to the playoffs and you're gonna either give me Cam Ward or Corey Crawford, I'm taking Corey Crawford. If you say that I'm crazy or I'm insane, let me know in the comments below. All right before I go, I'll give you the last segment that we're gonna talk about is what Chicago Blackhawks should do with Cam Ward. He's a free agent. I don't know if there's another team that's going to pick him up. Even if he's going to play another year because he's been in the league so long. I think he's played 13, 14 seasons. But do you get rid of him? The way I see the Blackhawks going, I don't see them getting rid of a lot of people just because you're bringing in a new coach. But do you want to expose Colin Dillon this early, or do you want him to gain a little bit more experience down there in Rockford? So if I was the Blackhawks and Cam Ward's willing to play another year, I let him play another year with the Blackhawks being the backup goalie. That gives you that leeway point to put your offense in, put your scheme in that Jeremy Collinsson has. But don't let him go quite yet. If he wants to go, let him go. If he wants to stay for another year, let him stay. But that's where I'm going to wrap things up. Next week, we're going to talk about Dylan Strome and Alex DeBrincat in. Are they going to be our next Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves? Who knows? But follow me on Twitter at KSavedich or at IIVTech. I have multiple ones up there. I'll also put my YouTube link down and below because I'll upload the podcast up there. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're listening to this. And hopefully catch you in next week's podcast. Oh, wait, hold up real quick. I'm also going to be launching Off the Post, which is going to be another podcast series that I'm going to do after the first round is over. I'm going to go through all of the stats, or not stats so much of just looking over what everyone has done, how screwed up your brackets are, and how probably screwed up my brackets are, because I know my bracket's screwed up. But we'll talk about that and then get into those matchups and see how everything goes. But like I said, hope you enjoy the podcast, and hopefully catch you in the next one.